So I'm currently on the phone with Dave. He's another musician that reached out about the interview series. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
How's it going, world? I'm Dave Valencia from Tucson, Arizona, currently residing in beautiful California. Glad to be on.
Awesome. So I always like to kind of dive into the details from the beginning and find out, when did you first find music and what about it was important enough for you to want to participate in it?
Yeah, so I grew up in a pretty big family, and so music was constantly around in every house, any relative that I visited, and it was different varieties of music. My mom really into disco and kind of James Taylor and that sort of thing. And my dad really into Bob Marley and Led Zeppelin, and then meeting my uncles and them getting me into rap, and then it just kind of all the genres I feel kind of were exposed to me at a very young age and still are constantly. And much like food, music was always around, no matter what the occasion. There was always some sort of background noise kind of going on. And I think all those little experiences kind of molded my brain into the musician that I am.
Sure. So when would you say that you actually started picking up an instrument or starting to express your interest in music?
Well, I would say probably the early age of 5 or 6, just playing on pots and pans. And I remember, playing on my bed. I would set up, like the dictionary encyclopedia, because they all had different tones anytime I hit it with my drumstick. And so I'd essentially make like a little drum set on my bed and just started practicing my hand and foot coordination and stuff like that, and then rhythm and tempo and all that sort of thing. And so I think that's kind of where it all started. And then I, picked up drums at 8, 9 years old, where I got my first drum set. And it kind of just went from there. I'm 36 now, so after drums, when I was 16, it kind of went into playing guitar, and then that's when the whole, emo scene came in. So I learned how to play a lot of, cover songs and learning about different tunings and that sort of thing. And then that kind of bled into singing, and screaming and all that good stuff like that. So I feel like it's been a super long journey of just constantly learning about myself as a musician, as a person through music. So that's been super awesome to experience that.
Okay, so you're kind of suggesting that most of your participation in music has been following your own interest in playing music and instrumentation for what I assume is your own project. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the current project, I'm doing everything. It's just kind of like a culmination of all the experiences and knowledge that I've gained. Is kind of in this solo project now, which is awesome.
Okay. And through all those years of learning instrumentation and then also, thinking about your own project, have you worked with, other bands, played drums for other bands, doing like the garage band type thing and then getting out and doing shows and stuff?
Yeah, totally. I remember my first band ever was, I think, in 6th or 7th grade. And it was 2 of my good friends we met in jazz band. And, we started off doing Jimi Hendrix covers and Blink-182 and just a random mix of music we were covering. And so I was playing drums with those dudes. And then once high school started, that's when I was playing guitar. And then I, was just kind of in a bunch of random high school bands, mainly doing covers and stuff. And then also at the same time, writing my own stuff, heavily influenced by Dashboard Confessional and stuff. And working with a bunch of my friends doing that kind of thing. And then I met a group of people that I'm still friends with today, and we actually just put out an album last year, I believe, that we're still good friends to this day, and we're still trying to put out music just for the sake of putting out music. We don't really have an end game. It's just more of just kind of a creative expression, and yeah.
Okay. And so how long do you think it took you kind of mentioned that you dove into working with people kind of relatively early, but Through the different instruments that you learned, how long would you think or say that it took you before you actually felt like comfortable using that instrument in like a group setting?
To be honest, I always kind of felt confident just in general. Maybe the guitar took about a year or so to kind of figure it out and just figure out my own style of playing. And again, that was kind of found through playing other bands' music and just kind of taking bits and pieces of it and kind of making it my own. Drums, I just dove in there, and I remember just started playing, and but guitar I was a little insecure about at first, but then I found that I was way more creative and better, frankly, at guitar than I was at drums.
Nice.
And the same could be said with even my singing. I mean, my newest album that I put out, as a solo artist, um, I was really insecure about my singing. Even like the sound of my own voice talking, I don't like sometimes, it's like this weird monotone. But there's, a market for it, I guess. And I found kind of my niche with the genre that I created or that I, kind of made up, and it works, but drums were never an issue. I just kind of jumped in, everything else was kind of, second guessing myself.
Okay, and then with the stuff that you've created for your own solo project, how would you describe the type of content that you wanted to make and the context of the music?
So the project is called Electric Sweater, and it started off as a joke in the beginning, like kind of like an inside joke, and then I moved to Los Angeles, and I was really, really into 80s dark wave, like The Cure and the Smiths and all that kind of thing. And then I found there's a bunch of new bands currently that have that same kind of feel, and so I just kind of dove into it. And being surrounded in Los Angeles and that whole vibe, I was trying to capture that mood in the music. And so, much like anything that I've written in previous in the past, it just comes out naturally, and it's sort of a gift that I think I have, where I can just listen to something and recreate it, but make it my own at the same time, and or just kind of put my own spin on it. And so this project is very, very rooted in 80s dark wave, synth, arpeggiator, et cetera, et cetera. I've even gone as far as combining my, doom metal days back in Seattle with this dark wave, and creating a genre that I'm calling doom wave. So very like, existential lyrics, and very, dark and deep, and the music kind of goes with that. It's like a whole experience that I'm trying to create. And it's been going pretty good so far. So
Awesome. So, what sort of lineup do you have for that project? I know you're kind of writing it all yourself, but I assume you'd want to get out there and play it live. What sort of accompaniment would you look for?
yeah, so that's something that's been going back and forth in my mind. How do I pull this off live? Given the human element rather than just me playing a backtrack, and so I've played with the idea of maybe just doing that, just having me on stage with the guitar and my laptop or something. I thought about maybe hiring musicians to learn the parts. I've even gone as far as thinking like just having me on stage and having like an interpretive dancer as kind of like a visual aspect, or maybe someone painting something from start to finish, the entirety of my set. So right now it's kind of to be determined, honestly. I like the idea of having a full band, but there's just so many moving parts with that, and I'm already currently in another band back in Arizona, which we create remotely, which is kind of difficult, but it's just a whole different element that I haven't really kind of dove into completely.
Sure. And along those lines of, what you'd like to accomplish somewhat on the immediate time frame, where would you like to see, yourself and your project in, 5 or 10 years?
Well, hopefully in 5 and 10 years, I'm still creating music, whether it be for Electric Sweater or any of the other random projects that I'm in. Um, the whole purpose of, and I'm now just realizing this, but the purpose of art and creating is to express yourself. And I don't really expect an ROI on that, right? Like I do it to kind of scratch that itch that I have. Um, and if people like it, then that's awesome. If they don't, then it's still awesome. It's still out there. You know what I mean? Like the goal is always to not stop creating. And in 5, 10 years time, if this little COVID bedroom project that I started a couple years ago takes off, then awesome. But if it doesn't, it as long as it as long as it's been heard and it had some sort of effect on you, then to me that's the biggest reward I can ask for. Um, and I'm sure every artist can say the same thing for their art.
Sure, absolutely. So, what are some of your favorite, most prominent memories that you have of participating in music, whether it was a show you went to or writing a song or something?
Well, I mean, I, last night, for instance, I went to a local show in Pomona, and I saw a band I've never heard before, never seen. And they're not that big, but they just have this crazy stage presence that they demanded you pay attention, and you can feel the energy that they were giving off, and it was so powerful. And it just reminded me of why we're in this game, why we do what we do, and it's for that reason, to have that connection with the people. And so that was kind of nice. It kind of like reignited this flame inside to just to keep going and keep doing. So as far as like being a patron or being someone in the crowd, that was really exciting, and a memory that I won't forget, obviously. Um, Even if it was yesterday, it was still really awesome to feel that. But playing shows, it's just a different experience. To being on the other end of that spectrum is beautiful, because you can see people just looking at you. It sounds really narcissistic, but they look at you and they're just like, wow. Like some of them might say, I'll never have the guts to do that. I'll never have the guts to put myself out there and be vulnerable and try to create something out of nothing. So I think that's really awesome. And if you have a chance to experience it, or to even make that experience for someone, I think is beautiful. I think is super rad.
Definitely. There's a strange energy to playing live and watching the crowd in front of you react to it and how they react.
Totally. Yeah. Especially if you start to see them mosh pit and stuff, like you're almost providing them a service. I mean, that's probably why, I'm, like I said, I'm 36 and I still go to the mosh pit. There's something about that community, and like the simple act of someone falling down and you picking them up, even if you don't know them. Like, it's just, there's a sense of community that is created in those, I guess, random places, and you can go to a show in New York and you can be in the mosh pit, and someone will be there to back you up if you fall down or if you drop something or whatever the case may be. Like it's really awesome to be a part of this huge community of music lovers.
So you mentioned your project Electric Sweater. Where can people check that out and listen to you and follow you?
Yeah, so it's on every platform. The lyrics are on Apple. I don't know why it's taken forever for Spotify to get my lyrics up, but yeah, I'm on everything. Anything you get your music from. And then my Instagram handle is just electric sweater Dave. It's kind of like a personal Instagram, but I make it public, so I want everyone to kind of know what's going on in my life. It's mainly just my dog and just this random show that I go to and stuff that I eat or whatever. So it's just kind of a transparent page, so to speak. Yeah, you can check it out there.
So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So just a message that you want to throw out there.
It's something that I kind of live by. I literally have it tattooed on my hand. It's just to push yourself and then never stop. no matter what situation you're in. It doesn't have to be music. It can be anything in life, whatever the case may be. Just never stop doing what you're doing and remember why you're doing it. Because I think people can get easily distracted with the noise around them. And, just never lose sight of yourself and be honest with yourself and never stop pushing, for sure.